So my name is Jeff Weinreich, and I'm honored to serve as a district trainer for Governor-elect Sonny Kellerman. And thank you for participating in these pre-pets Zoom workshops. Part of the reason we're doing this is that pets is going to be somewhat shorter than it typically is because we're co-joined with the district conference. We thought that we would use this forum for some of the material that we typically cover at pets. So we greatly appreciate your participation. And just a few points about Zoom etiquette. We're going to try to make this interactive, meaning mics are on if you so choose. But if we are getting feedback and we can't figure out where the feedback is coming from, we will need to mute people. So please try to keep the feedback to a minimum. And there are different ways to ask questions. You can just interrupt the speaker if you do so with respect and ask a question. There's an option in Zoom to raise your hand. You can do that. You can also submit a question through the chat. But again, we want these to be interactive. It's a reasonably sized group, so do not hesitate to just ask your question when it is appropriate. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our illustrious incoming governor, Sonny Kellerman.
Thank you, Jeff. Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm going to attempt to make sure everyone knows who's on the call. Can everyone hear me all right? Connection is a Silver City one, so from time to time it may be issues, but we'll see what we can do. So I'm going to go through the participant list. When I call your name from this list, would you tell us what club you're from? And if I don't know who you are, I'll say whatever it is. Like there's somebody here named Museum Office. Who is that?
That's me, Sonny.
Me. Oh, Bart.
Yes,
Roselli
that's
from
me.
Silver City.
That's correct.
Thank you. Hi.
Say good morning,
Okay. Good morning, me. All right. Thank you. Okay. Don Dinsmore.
It's Dawson. Good morning.
Dawson. Excuse me, Dawson. And you're from what club?
Las Cruces Mesilla Valley Club, our morning club, Thursday morning.
I remember. Thank you very much. And then we have Jim Bird.
Moriarty Edgewood.
Welcome. Veronica.
Veronica Williams from Gallup.
Hi, Veronica. Thank you. Bob Entrop.
Yes, I'm with Roswell Pecos Valley Club. I was one of the charter members of that club 30 whatever years ago. I've been president before. I was GSE chairman, held a number of district offices 20 years ago before I stepped away from that leadership stuff. So here we are again trying to save a club.
Thank you for coming back. Things have changed a bit. It's going to be a fresh experience, I promise.
Thank you.
Brenda Waters.
Angel Fire.
Angel Fire, thank you. Brian McPartland.
Hello, Governor. I'm from the Downtown Rotary Club in Santa Fe.
Santa Fe, thank you. Ed Robertson.
Yes, good morning. Rotary Del Sol, Albuquerque, and we're Morning Club.
Excellent, thank you. Bob Schneider.
Good morning, I'm from Portales.
Oh, yes. Someone named Christina. Christina, you're muted. Well, we'll come back to it. Candace Chavez is on the call.
Hi, yes. CRC Club.
She's with Earl, right?
Yes.
Hi there.
And Renee. Hi. And Renee.
And Tyler Hockenberry. Tyler? Apparently he's muted, I think. Who have I missed?
Laura Gonzalez from Los Alamos.
Hi, Laura. Welcome.
Sonny, Christina texted or chatted that she's from White Sands, Alamogordo.
Ah, thank you, Christina. And we also have any other presidents-elect that I've missed?
Yeah, Mark Tobiasen from the Rotary Club Albuquerque.
Mark, hi, welcome.
Fred Pomeroy, Los Lunas.
Hi, Fred. Thank you.
Jerry
Anyone
Pike from
else?
Grants Milan.
I'm sorry.
Jerry
say
Pike
it-
from Grants Milan.
Welcome. Okay, and we also have our illustrious district leadership team members who will be facilitating with me. You've met Jeff Weinreich, the district trainer. We also have Bruce Bortner, this year's district trainer. Bruce, you're still there, yes?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, great. And then with Candace Chavez in Truth or Consequences, we have Renee Catlin, who is Cantlin. Am I saying that right? Catlin?
Hello.
Ken-
Morning. Renee Cantor.
Renee, our Rotary Leadership Institute Chair, and Earl Greer, currently New Generations Chair and about to be our Service Project Chair. Have I missed anyone? All right. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for being here. I know it's a Saturday morning and you have other things you could be doing, and we appreciate your being here. So you have been selected to lead your Rotary Club as president, perhaps for the first time, perhaps not your first time, but in any event, it's a brand new game. You've been entrusted by your club, challenged and charged to serve, I would say, in the starring role of your club for one unforgettable, never to be repeated club year. So you have an opportunity to lead them to new heights, to stretch their capabilities, to serve humanity and your community as never before. Past RI Vice President Sonny Brown, who happens to be from our district, once said, there's no true leader who doesn't want to become an even better leader. And so I'm assuming that you will be looking to expand your skills and serve with even greater purpose and even more meaningful results as we go forward. So with this training, what we do in our 2 video sessions, and then what we do in person in Ruidoso in March, is designed exclusively to serve you, to empower you to be all you can be, to make this the best Rotary Club presidential experience possible, and ensure that you're set up with what you need to not only be a great leader, but know the things that will make a difference to know and do the things that will ensure success. I want to mention, by the way, that there are a number of great reasons to be a club president. You know, you've probably thought about this, and maybe you have some that I'm not going to list. But for example, you not only further develop your leadership skills, you will, by practice weekly, become an even better public speaker. You'll learn a lot about working with different kinds of people. You'll be inspired by the kindness and service that people extend to their fellow human beings. And you'll learn a lot more about Rotary, particularly expanding beyond your own club. So what I want to leave you with in terms of an introduction is that Rotary happens at the club level. Rotary is the clubs. Rotary clubs give heart, soul, and home to the Rotary spirit. So it's not unusual to hear that the most important volunteer position in Rotary is that of club president. I believe this is true, and I thank you for bringing your time, talent, and passion for Rotary to this coming year. I'm excited to be working with you. That concludes my introduction. Jeff, I think I'm supposed to jump right into the manual. Is that right?
We had sent out to all of the incoming presidents the documents that we're going to be going through. If you happen to have a copy to take notes, that's fine. What we're going to do is we'll have the document up on the screen so you can follow along. Let me go ahead and put this in full screen. So this is the Club President's Manual. You'll notice it's for the 2019 through 2022 Rotary years. So this will be your kind of Bible for everything you need to know about being a president. Hello? So you should have this document. If you didn't receive the link, let me know and I will forward it to you. I'll also probably send it out to everyone after this training anyway with additional information. So Sunny, if it's okay with you, since you're going to start, just point me to what page you want me to go to and I will go there.
Okay. The first page we want to look at is the essential changes from the Council on Legislation for 2019. There are, I assume that many of you are familiar with the Council on Legislation. It meets every 3 years. It considers proposals from clubs all over the world for changes in Rotary's policies and procedures. And I just want to call your attention to four things in this 2-page document that I think are of particular interest to you. The first one is that makeups for missed meetings can now be made at any time in the same Rotary year, not calendar year, but Rotary year. I've been told that this offers a logistical nightmare for club secretaries. So I want to make sure you know that Rotary International is not collecting attendance information anymore. And we are, as a group, much more flexible about attendance than we've ever been. We encourage clubs in our district to keep tracking attendance for 2 reasons. One is that some members still take pride in having perfect attendance and want it tracked. And the other is that taking attendance does encourage engagement and staying in touch with one another and fellowship. So attendance we care about. It's not nearly as rigid as it used to be. And you can do a makeup at any time during the Rotary year. Then 2 down from there, the club finances section. Please note that now, in addition to having an election of officers in the mid-year, clubs are also expected to provide a mid-year financial report to the club. This is new and it's a good idea. If you have questions about it, we can talk about them later, but just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. Jeff, can we have the next page? Thank you. Under membership, you may have heard that Rotary International has now made Rotaract clubs members of Rotary International, and Rotaractors are considered Rotary members. And that means that they're going to be treated in much the same way. We still have Rotaract clubs, but we also have Rotaractors as members of our own clubs. And there'll be a lot of information about these changes on the Rotary International website in due course. Just for now, be aware that we've elevated the status of our Rotaractors. And finally, under classification, the classification limit has been removed. You can now determine for yourselves how many members you want in any particular classification. Technically, you could have an entire club composed of nothing but lawyers, although I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Any questions about any?
Here. That's we want to highlight that, Sonny, just for a moment, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Thank you, Earl. It's been the case for quite a while that we don't have the same limit that we did initially, and we've gotten around it every way we could. As Ken Boyd, past Rotary International Director and membership chair for the world in 2001 and 2 once said, what we're after is a quantity of quality, and we don't care so much about what classification they have. Any other questions or comments so far?
Sonny, going back to the Rotaract members also being Rotary members, are they
Yes.
by default members of the club that sponsored the Rotaract Club, or do they have a choice? Do you know?
They have a choice, and they're invited to enroll as your members as well. You would pay only one set of dues, of course. And take a look at the Rotary International website. There's a section on what's happening with Rotaract, and I think I'll learn more about that when I complete the week in San Diego for presidency-elect, governors-elect, which is happening starting January 19th.
Sonny, if you don't mind, Jeff, I will address the Rotaract in further detail when we get to membership.
Oh, perfect. Thank you, Earl. Okay, then the next section in this manual is that I want to call your attention to is called Your Job, and it's on small Roman numeral 3. There it is. There are 2 pages to this section. One listing the responsibilities of a president-elect, and then the following page listing the responsibilities of president. If we go back to president-elect for just a moment, wait a minute, is there anything on president-elect we need to talk about? No, I think it's fairly clear. Obviously, you're in the same position I am. We're setting ourselves up for a successful Rotary year. And that means making sure your team is in place, that your plans are in place, that you prepared a budget, that you start to think about how you want to train the people in your club. Make sure you have a My Rotary account if you don't already. And then there will be trainings of your own to attend. You're doing part of them right now. One thing that we are counting on you for is, second from the bottom, set and track goals for your year. We'll be talking about this more than once, I'm sure. But in Rotary Club Central, there's a place to set your goals, particularly membership, service projects, foundation giving, polio giving, etc. Some people, in my experience, are afraid of goals, but they don't need to be. These are not things that we're going to castigate you about or ride herd on you for. They are games to play that allow you to focus on what you want to accomplish in your year. So more about that later. And then on the next page, the president page, basically what you're ending up looking at now is implementing everything you've put in place. So you will be a liaison between your members and me and your assistant governor, and you'll be overseeing your budget, your service projects, and the accomplishments of each of your committees. I'm counting on you to read all of this manual thoroughly, even though we are reviewing it rather quickly. You'll find it's a very empowering and useful document. Questions or comments so far? Okay. Planning your year. You know, Peter Drucker, who's a business consultant, once said the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And so that's the invitation before you, is to actually think about what you want to be able to say at the end of your year. And that means, for example, you know, we talk a lot about being a vibrant club, and you'll be hearing about it more today. That means, for example, what would your club look like if it were truly vibrant, or even more vibrant than it is now? There's a table at the bottom of this page with, again, setting the respective accountabilities of a president-elect and a president. Basically, right now, you want to be creating a plan with your team and setting the goals. And then as president, you will be monitoring the goals, implementing the goals, inspiring people to produce the goals, and celebrating the achievement of goals.
Sunny, can I interject just for a second?
Yes.
One thing we are going to talk about when we get more into the goal setting and how you actually do that is we really do recommend that the plan that you develop is not just a one-year plan. That should be a minimum, but you should be thinking maybe 2, 3, maybe 5 years out. And if you do that, if you think about your plan longer term, to make sure that the person who's going to be succeeding you as the next president is also part of that planning process, because they're going to be implementing the second year of a plan that you may be developing now.
Perfect. Thank you, Jeff. 2 other things to note. One is, as I mentioned before, being sure to record your goals in Rotary Club Central. We'll be showing you how to do that later. And also, every year, the president of Rotary International establishes a Rotary citation, which is available to clubs that meet certain criteria. You'll be learning more about that. I think it's going to be rolled out very soon. It's generally the kinds of things you would want to be doing anyway. You know, have a net increase in membership, have collaborative service projects, have a Rotary logo on your materials, you know, things like that. So keep an eye out for the Rotary citation, and you may want to weave some of that that document into the goals you create for your year.
One other thing about this document, and a lot of these Rotary documents, they've really done a good job in improving the quality of the material that's covered, but also if you happen to have the electronic versions of these documents, you'll find hyperlinks like this one here for the strategic planning guide that you can click on it and it will open up that document as well. So try to keep like a portfolio of some of these key Rotary documents electronically so you can bring up those other documents if you hyperlink them.
Thank you. That was dramatic.
I like it.
Indeed.
Keep up the good work.
Okay. How am I doing on time, Jeff?
You're doing fine.
Oh, good. Okay, chapter 2. Yes, what are you waiting for? Be a Vibrant Club. Chapter 2, Leading Rotarians. You know, these are all topics we could spend an hour or more each on, but this chapter is pretty useful, and it speaks more to the administrative aspects of leading Rotarians than to the inspirational aspects. But still, I think you're going to find that you want to refer to it. Again, a table at the bottom of the first page of chapter 2 outlines the responsibilities of a president-elect and a president. And in terms of setting yourself up to proceed, you want your committee chairs appointed and set up and having their own My Rotary accounts as soon as possible. Make sure they're set up to succeed, not only in terms of training, but in terms of having identifiable goals, support them, provide continuity. Presidents, clear communication is absolutely essential. One of the skills in leadership that is often overlooked is that of consistency and clarity. To the extent that you know how you intend for it to work and have the alignment of your team, things go ever so much more smoothly. I would say too, leading Rotarians relies a great deal not only on inspiration and motivation, but on acknowledgement and celebration. So tracking accomplishment and making sure everyone's aware of accomplishment and of their role in it makes a huge difference in how people perceive themselves in their club. So you have the table on that page, and then on page 8, you have a list of bullets of the responsibilities of a club board. Right there at the last half of that page. Take a look at that. Make sure everyone on your board is aware of their responsibilities. On the following page, at the top, you have responsibilities of officers, and then the club committees that are recommended are outlined there. You're obviously welcome to have as many committees as you like, but those are recommended. And then there's a section on selecting, preparing, and working with your committees.
And Sunny,
Yes.
if the incoming presidents were not aware, most of those club committee leadership roles, Rotary International has manuals for them as well.
Yes. Yes, they do, and they're great. I've used them often. So you can get those from the Rotary International website, download them, distribute them, they make a difference. Okay. And then page 10 speaks to motivation again, and page 13 has some sample club committee structures for standard clubs, for small clubs, and on the following page for large clubs. But the idea seems to be in the recommendations Rotary International is making now for committee structures. The idea seems to be to have a smaller number of committees holding larger areas, and then you can break those out as you go.
Good morning.
Catching up?
Little webinar.
Oh, okay, well done.
That sounds like the museum office. Okay, any questions about chapter 2? Oh, you'll notice appendix 2, page 15, has a list of role-based training events. And we are doing part of the president-elect training, of course. There will be a district team training for assistant governors and lieutenant governors in early February. We'll have the second pre-PET session on February 22nd, and we'll be getting together March 26th and 27th to complete PETs together in person in Ruidoso.
And we will have a district assembly.
Our district assembly will be on Saturday, April 25th in Albuquerque. More information to come. However, I'm promising you that it's going to be extraordinary because, well, for many reasons. One is that our own district trainer will be bringing back to us a newly rolled out workshop on being a vibrant club, which is only being offered the week before. Also, Ken Boyd, the membership director for the World in 2001-2002, will be conducting a membership development and retention seminar for us. He has guaranteed that if we follow his direction, we will grow. And past RI President Rick King will be our luncheon speaker. So there are a lot of reasons to be there. Please mark your calendar for April 25th. Questions, comments about chapter 2?
Sonny, this is Bart. It just broke up a little bit, but the date is April 25 or 26?
2/5. It's a Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the question. Clarity, that's what we're after, clarity. Chapter 3, running your meetings. This is a rich topic also. There are a couple things to point out here. Obviously, this is mostly a club president accountability. Your charge is to run engaging and fun club meetings, board meetings, and club assemblies, as well as overseeing the reporting requirements for the board and the club, and making sure that the club is prepared to greet your district governor when that happens. If you'll turn to the next page, actually to page 21, you'll see sample formats for club meetings. There's a lot of flexibility here for a standard meeting, for social events, for networking events, for service projects. And actually, even within these, there's room to be creative. Your charge is to have this be such an exciting experience that people don't want to miss a meeting. You may choose, as some people do, to meet just twice a month, or to have one of your meetings be a social event, or to have one of your meetings be a service project event. Even if you're just doing a standard meeting, anything you can do to shake it up so that people can't just roll it out in their heads can make a difference in keeping people engaged. For example, I'm just going to give you a couple of examples from my own experience. On April Fool's Day, we had a meeting and we made it a funny hat day. You know, on one occasion, the speaker didn't show up and we had a clean joke contest. You know, but the thing is, it's okay to have fun in Rotary meetings. And the more you have them talking rather than you, the more exciting it will be, even though I'm sure you're all wonderful at speaking. Club assemblies, there's a special section on page 22. Club assemblies are recommended for certain purposes, and the timing is listed here. You may find it's useful to have one once a quarter, simply to update everyone on the various projects, where you stand with them, what's needed next, to look ahead, to do some planning, to monitor your goals, things like that. And in terms of preparing for your governor's visit, I'll be asking you to let me know what you're most proud of, what your challenges are, and how the district can support you.
Sunny, could you repeat that? The last sentence cut off from.
Did I cut off again? Yes, what you're most proud of, what your challenges are, and how the district can support you.
Thanks.
Because that's really our point. You know, we exist to make your life easier. Jeff, I believe that concludes my section. Am I correct?
You are correct.
Any questions or comments for me, from anyone? All right, and we'll turn it over to, is it Jeff or Earl?
Jeff next, and then Earl. Jeff and Earl will kind of be interchanging here.
Okay.
We can do that.
Yes. So
There you
chapter
go.
4 is running your club. And, you know, this does talk about kind of the governance notions, like policies and procedures, bylaws, and we're going to talk more about the bylaws a little bit later, but it is important as the incoming president, this is the best time for you to get acclimated to some of those key governing documents like your club constitution and the bylaws and when they are supposed to be changing so that you're up on that. They do change every 3 years, I believe. And so as the president, you want to know what's in that constitution and the bylaws, what they're used for. And what changes RI is recommending every few years for those documents. The Constitution.
And Jeff,
oh, yes.
I'm sorry, maybe you were going to say this, that there is a new constitution now that clubs are expected to adopt.
Yes. And that the issue with the Constitution is that you don't have flexibility with it. Every club signs that Constitution with their name and so on, and becomes that governing document. The bylaws is the document that is more flexible to the specifics of your club. When it meets, the demographics of your membership, your due structure, all of that. So again, the Constitution is standard for all Rotary clubs. The bylaws is the one where you want to add information that is unique for your particular club. And it's not just you that should be familiar with these. You should also be members of your club board, since they're going to be working on it together. And it's not a bad idea, perhaps in one of those club assemblies, to at least let the membership know about the Constitution and the bylaws and maybe some of the more important components of it just for their own information. So those are very important documents. You may also have your own internal documents as well that are unique to the club. Make sure that whatever documents you have, you've got a good system in place to manage them, whether it's your club secretary or some other position, to make sure that those documents exist and are not sitting in some file cabinet somewhere where no one knows where they are. So just consider kind of an effective way of managing that the key documents and the key knowledge about the club. Also, in all likelihood, you may have a section on the website, your club website, to have some of those key documents as well.
Generally a member-only access area, right?
Say that one more time.
Often those documents belong in a member access
Yes.
area of your
Yes.
website.
So you would need a login to get in, and then they're kind of in the back of the website or all the file management areas. So that's a good, if your club has a website, it would be good for your club secretary or whoever's going to do that to know how to get in and upload documents and download documents, because that's where that repository usually is. Risk management is also talked about a little bit in Chapter 4. And this is something that we do think about quite a bit. Things are going to happen where you need to consider risk. For example, if you're in youth programs, you want to make sure that you're following the policies and procedures to make sure that the children that you're dealing with are protected. So be familiar with the risk policies and anything your club has to do in terms of things like insurance and liability and those kind of things, that your club is set up to manage risk appropriately. Both the kind of the mechanical notion of risk, but also the practical notions. Who do we need to consider risk regarding, like children, and how do we make sure that we're being proactive about that rather than being reactive? Okay, and then there's some other information in here as well. As Sunny said, we're not going to go into all of these in detail, but please take the opportunity to go through this. And if after the training you have questions, you can always contact Sunny or Earl or myself, and we can provide you with that additional information. I'll mention quickly, and Sunny may want to jump in here, this also talks about the reporting requirements. So Sunny mentioned that there's going to be occasions during the Rotary year when the club is going to have to provide information to the district, to Rotary International. Just make sure that you keep up on what those reporting requirements are. You don't want to fall behind, especially when it comes to Rotary International. Some of the reporting to them determines the size of your club, which then affects how much the club has to pay RI. So you want to make sure that your membership information is accurate and that you're reporting that information both to the district and to RI. Questions, comments?
That covers it. Actually, the request is that you keep your membership rules up to date on a monthly basis with RI.
Yes. Okay. We're going to shift to category or chapter 5, strengthening your membership. Earl?
Oh, there you are. It's time to go.
Did somebody get lost?
Going to the party. I'm on a telecom.
We're having a party too.
Good morning, everyone. And hopefully nobody has gone to sleep yet. We're trying to make this a little bit fun, a little bit interactive. So some of the things that I want to do is maybe look at it from more of a holistic standpoint as opposed to looking at it focusing thing. Ideally, as president-elect, your hardest work is right now. And July 1, you become a conductor of an orchestra. All the pieces are in place, and all you're doing is conducting and making sure that it comes out as a beautiful melody for everybody to hear and to see. Everything is the foundation ideas of Rotary, or the foundation points of Rotary. And so it's something that you really do want to look at seriously. It affects all of the committee. the stronger your membership committee is, the more assistance club administration has. And the stronger that both of them are, the better your public image is going to be. With all of those working together, your service projects become a fun thing and something that everybody looks forward to. And obviously, as all of that happens, then foundation comes into a more effective point for the club. So one of the things, as I was listening to Jeff, one of the key things that you want to look at is exactly your officers, and make sure that they have bought in to what they're going to do to support you as you serve as this next year's president of your club, and ensure that things are a part of things. Membership. Sonny shared with you that there's no longer classification requirements. So ideally, you look at who would be best to come into our club. Who would be best as far as people that you may know, the attitudes that they have, the talents that they possess, the timing that they want. Certainly look at why somebody would join. Why does somebody want to join Rotary, and set your committee chair, your membership chair, in that direction and moving forward. Help them set their goals as membership chair. What do they want to accomplish as membership chair? What direction do they want to go? Sonny touched on Rotaract. As you can set up a Rotaract club. It is a part of your club. Financially, you're responsible for them. But now you're starting to get the young and up-and-coming professionals involved, and that's kind of starting to build the foundation for your club and for your future, especially small clubs. Take a Melrose, New Mexico, where everybody in town could be a Rotarian and you're still a small club. If you get everybody involved and you start getting your young up-and-coming individuals that are starting their families, and you get them a part of Rotary, now you've got your future set forth. Do you want to do an Interact Club? Do you want your membership chair to look in those directions? I understand this is all youth, but nonetheless, it all interacts and is all a part of your club and the direction that maybe you will set. But you want to identify prospective members. Look through this manual. You can see it, page 38. Introduce them to Rotary in the club. Invite them to join if you think they're a good match. The key thing is, once you get them going, get them involved. Assign them tasks. Get them a part of things. They'll feel needed at that point in time and a part of the club, and that'll bring them into the club in to a greater degree, and let them put skin in the game, if you will, so that they feel like they're a part of things. All of these different, when you jump over to page 40, you see managing the leads. Rotary International many times will get membership leads from people around the world in the various locations. I know there for a while we were getting a lot of leads that was submitted to me when I was in LG for Albuquerque and El Paso and Las Cruces, and we would follow up.
Sure, I'll get the tire filled.
Area. So understand you need to get leads from Rotary International.
Hold on.
Yes, ma'am.
A second. Jeff, I think we need to mute.
If someone who is on the phone can mute themselves, that would be fine. We've got a lot of people on the call. I didn't want to mute everyone unless we had to.
I understand.
Okay.
It was getting hard to hear Earl. Go ahead, Earl. Thank you.
That might be a good thing, Sonny. Look at your alumni. Are there individuals that you know that used to be in Rotary and are not anymore, maybe? Go and visit with them and see what the deal is.
Okay, I'm going to mute everyone, and then I'm going to unmute you, Earl. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Okay, Earl.
Okay. Look at those connections. See what's there, and incorporate all your committees relative to membership. Figure out how you're going to engage your members. I think page 42 is a good thing for you to look at individually. How are you going to engage them in membership? How do the different committees cross each other so that they can support one another? Can you help your club become a little more flexible? And how are you going to attract new members? I'm going to tell you right now, the way you attract new members is you go to them personally and you ask them. You get them involved. That's the best way. I mean, doing doing things publicly so that people see what you're doing, advertising what you're doing, the projects you're doing is all great. Ideally, it gives you a good perception, but there's nothing better than shaking their hand and saying, you need to be a part of this club and here's why, and then bring them in. So you can look at page 43. It gives you some ideas there. And your committee, again, you want your chair to buy into this, to have skin in the game, so that starting July 1, they're off and running. And when you have your meetings, they're reporting on how they're accomplishing the goals that have been set with you and with them. I think that covers membership. If there's any questions, raise your hand, and Jeff will get you online.
Right. So while we're in this mute mode, there's a couple of options. One is you can unmute yourself if you want to ask a question. You can also raise your hand in Zoom if you know how to do that, or you can submit a question through the chat. But at this point, you can unmute your computer or your phone if you do want to ask a question. Zoom allows you to do that.
I would like to add something, if I may. Rotary International, has begun to invite us to think of the 3 essential elements of Rotary as a piece. In other words, membership, branding, which we used to call public image, and the Rotary Foundation all support one another. Obviously, the more members we have, the more funds we have for the foundation. The more foundation funds we have, the more money we get for service projects. The more service projects we get, the more money we need from the foundation. And also, the more excited our members become. And people in the community get excited about being with us. So when you think about this, everything you do is an opportunity to forward all 3. And I'm thinking particularly that when you have a service project, invite friends to come and participate with you and see how much fun you're having outside a meeting. You know, you can actually forward membership and service and foundation and the image that Rotary has in the community and in your club all at once.
Thank you, Sonia.
That puts us right into chapter 6, Jeff. Branding.
Yes, this is another area where Rotary International has really picked up. They've recognized how important this is. I remember going to trainings a number of years ago where they would just start to talk about this. Personally, I think that Rotary was a little late because we are service above self. And there's some notion that, well, if we're doing it for other people, promoting feels like we're patting ourselves on the back, and yet, you know, we're trying to do things for others. But I do think that they've recognized, as Sonny was pointing out, we have to brand and we have to promote to get the word out, to let people know in the community what Rotary does. We're not just a group of people that gets together for a meeting once a week. So Rotary has really picked up the ball in terms of promotion and public image, and having that brand identity. And in fact, if you noticed, 1 or 2 years ago, they changed the Rotary brand to include the word Rotary. So for our Rotary pins, now it's the word Rotary plus the wheel. The notion, it's kind of like McDonald's. Part of the brand is, what's the word? People were squinting at that wheel saying, well, what is that? And Rotary said, well, let's just put the word Rotary by it so that brand becomes more tangible, something that you can wrap your arms around. So this is a big part of Rotary now, and we need to be thinking about our brand. And we're really branding several things. We are branding Rotary because we're all members of Rotary. We all have Rotary pins, but we're also branding our club. So what is our club identity? What are we known for? In terms of recruiting members, people want to know what your club does and who the members are and kind of what your identity is. So think about that in terms of your public image. And again, just like with all these other areas, you should have a very strong and vibrant committee in your club focusing on image and branding. And there's a really good public image committee manual for the person who's going to be the chair for your public image committee. So please take a look at that, or make sure you get a copy and give it to your public image chair. So public image this is where we get into things like social media, for example. Rotary has, again, I think gotten very aggressive in terms of being more involved in social media than they used to. A little bit later, we'll show you all of the social media sites. They're very active on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And I think it's made a difference. I think just being out there and people are logging in and going through their scrolls, and all of a sudden they're seeing Rotary messages and images from service projects, images from all the work that we're doing on polio. They're very powerful. So I think they've done a really good job at this. And again, it's something for your club to think about, is how are you getting the word out? What is your strategy for communicating what your club is doing to the community and the other people that you want to reach? So again, consider that public image committee. And as Earl was saying with membership, these are all equally important and they work together. Public image is not some independent function that we have. It should be integrated into everything that the club is trying to accomplish. So what role does strong public image have in things like membership, and how are they connected? So things to think about.
Jeff, one more thing.
Yes.
And this was new to me until this summer. Rotary is now inviting us to think about branding not only outside ourselves, but also in terms of people's experience of Rotary in the club. So we haven't really talked about this, but in fact, we have a perception of Rotary based on our experience, and it can be more or less positive depending on various aspects of our culture and our circumstances and what we're doing. So as you lead your club and as you promote Rotary in the community, think about what the impact you're having is on your club members and how you can make that experience even more positive.
Excellent. Thank you, Sunny. There's a little paragraph down here at the bottom that I think is really powerful. It just says, as you develop your communications, keep in mind the characteristics of Rotary's voice: smart, compassionate, persevering, and inspiring. It's not just press releases and announcements. It's these kind of regular communications. They always, I'm not a social media expert, but I do get involved in a lot. And they say, if you're not putting something out on Facebook or Twitter, Instagram, once every couple of days, that kind of reinforcement, people lose interest. The idea of having that kind of continual communication, it kind of penetrates beyond just the brain seeing something. It permeates and gets more of an emotional attachment. One other thing here is that Rotary is very focused on making sure we use appropriate branding materials. So for example, when the Rotary logo changed, they wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of that and using it in all of the communications. There's a branding section on the Rotary website. Please, yourself and your public image chair and others who are doing this, make sure that you go to that section of the website and download the appropriate logos and brands and things like that and use those in your publications. It also helps to generate your own branding images. So let's say you want to have a club logo, you want to use the Rotary logo, but then add your club information to it. So just be very cognizant of making sure that you're following the branding requirements that Rotary International has. Any questions on that? And again, the Rotary website is really good at downloading all that branding information and logos that you and your club need to use. Okay. Earl, we're at the Rotary Foundation. You want to pick this one up?
Sure. So I talked a little bit a while ago about how all of these things interconnect and work. On the Rotary Foundation, they even have a mission statement. If you're on page 55, the mission of the Rotary Foundation is to enable Rotary members to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace through the improvement of health, the support of education, and the alleviation of poverty. So that's their mission statement as to what they want to accomplish. Now, the Rotary Foundation, a lot of times you see people, especially in our meetings, they say, we're that close to eradicating polio. And that's kind of what we've become known as worldwide, especially when Bill Gates comes in and matches monies that we raise, and in fact exceeds money that we raise, knowing that the funds are being used appropriately. The Rotary Foundation funds humanitarian activities from local projects to global initiatives. And that local projects is kind of the one I wanted to touch on just for a second. Your club can apply for grants to participate in projects and provide scholarships. In the manual, it kind of gives you an idea how to do that. If you look on page 56, your Rotary Foundation committee, it kind of lists the responsibilities that they have that you can go through and look at. And again, as you talk to them, talk to your chair in particular, and encourage them to have, and I keep using this term, I hope you understand what it means, skin in the game, so that they take it upon themselves to achieve and to accomplish goals as those committee chairs. There is district support, and I cannot emphasize that enough. Come to the district. We have a Rotary chair, a foundation chair. They know the foundation inside and out, all of the equations, all of the percentages, everything that is needed so that you are aware of it. They've got that so that you can apply for grants as you do your local projects. And again, that goes to your service projects. All of this is interactive once again. They have seminars to learn about the foundation, the grant management seminars, and then of course the stewardship and qualification as you receive these grants. Some of the clubs have taken upon themselves to have every Rotarian every year, and that means that everybody is contributing to the grant, to the foundation, excuse me. And every 3 years, the money that has been given to you, that have been received into the district, a percentage of that comes back 3 years later. So that money does come back into the district and is used, and it's not just something that goes out and you never see it again. As president-elect, you're going to sit down with your foundation chair, and you're going to enter your fund development club goals in Rotary Club Central. That's important for you to do, especially as you apply for grants and things. There's a lot of requirements that they're going to have. And so those, especially as you look for district assistance in that and have your chair look for district assistance in that, you can kind of see what some of those requirements are going to be. Encourage your members to get involved. You and your foundation chair set your goals. And again, my encouragement is to let them be a part of that goal setting so that they are taking the reins for you and running with it. And basically you're asking them to return and report how they're accomplishing on themselves. The other thing that you're doing, if I could share this with you, you're preparing your future club presidents. As you set your chairs, as they go through, as they learn, as they watch you in action, as they accomplish their various goals in each committee, you're helping them prepare themselves to be the chair, to be the president of your club. And so you're helping them learn. And if I can encourage that, that's one of the biggest things from my perspective that you could accomplish. I think, and so with that, we're going to jump right in to projects. Jeff, so that's page 61, unless there's any questions.
Hi, Earl. This is Laura Gonzalez from Los Alamos.
Hi, Laura.
I had a quick question about the foundation and the typical cruise tickets that we do. Are we going to be doing that this year? And if so, do you have an idea when we will receive them? And then the other question that I was asked by some of my fellow board members was, is there a set policy on the folks that are already Paul Harris Fellows and they give their money every year? Is there a certain amount of tickets that they get?
Sunny, can you answer the question about?
I can address this. This is kind of hot off the press, but I had a conversation with Governor Gary just the other day, and he's putting something in this January district newsletter, so you'll be getting it soon. We will not be doing cruise tickets this year. And the reason is that apparently for quite a while we've been operating under a false understanding of how this worked and whether it was kosher with the IRS. The IRS now has a policy that a cruise ticket, raffle ticket of $1, say, is worth $1. So there is no deductible if you buy a cruise ticket, a raffle ticket. So what we're doing instead is reminding people of the other reasons why we want to support the foundation, which include not only getting foundation recognition points that can be used to award Paul Harris Fellows, but also in our district, an average donation from a club of $100 per person kicks up the amount for which you are eligible for a district grant. So I can talk to you more about this later if you like, but that's the latest from our district.
That's perfect. I just wanted to be able to answer those questions. Thank you so much, Sunny.
Did that get them all, Laura?
Appreciate it.
That gave all of those questions. I am curious at some point about finding out about how that whole funding formula works for the amounts that you've given for your club.
You will definitely be getting that. Promise that'll come.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
But basically, just so you know, based partly on how much you gave 3 years ago as a club and whether or not you met the $100 per person average donation this year.
Okay, so I know we always meet our $100 donation per person per year.
Great. Okay.
I know 3 years ago, because that was the year I was foundation chair, that we gave more than we'd ever given before. So we should.
That was a big year, wasn't it? Okay, thank you, Laura.
And I believe we will be going into this in more detail at the hands-on pets in Ruidoso. We'll have more detailed information on the grant process and the formula and all of that. Yes.
Sunny, who's going to be the foundation chair during your term?
Tom Walker.
Okay, Laura, what you're going to want to do is have your foundation chair really get to know Tom Walker very well. And with that connection, you're going to have all of your questions resolved and answered and your goals and everything set. That's your key right there.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, Earl, are you going to do the service projects?
Sure.
Okay.
Service projects are kind of a neat and fun thing if you look at them in that perspective. And again, this kind of goes back to the foundation and the grants that you receive, but there's a lot of things that you can do when you're looking at your service projects. The top 2 reasons people join Rotary are to give back to their local community and to connect with friends. I will say that connection with friends many times involves business so that you're networking. So keep that in mind as you're talking about and thinking about membership. But certainly as you're thinking about membership, your service projects are something that allow people to give back to the community. You want to come up with ideas on things that will support your community. And it kind of gives you that on page 62. It talks about your service projects committee, and then it talks about the opportunities. And again, you're cross-referencing with your club service, your vocational service, community service, international service, and your youth service. And there's nothing wrong with bringing, if you have an Interact club, and I would encourage those communities, Albuquerque, Cruces, Portales, those that have El Paso, those that have Interact clubs, to bring them into your service projects, have them be a part of it. And I would encourage you to have a member of them be on your service project committee, so that they're a part of it and can throw some thoughts and ideas. Those fresh ideas on what is needed in the community is incredibly important, and you can do some neat things. As an example, I know one club did something. It doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it was huge to the senior citizens. They put together covers from the sun off of the senior citizen, where they get their lunches, so that they could go outside and sit down and eat during that period of time during their lunches. And that may not seem like a huge deal, but it was big for the seniors in that community. If you don't feel like that there's a project locally that is needed, or maybe you're in an area like Albuquerque or El Paso where a number of other clubs are doing certain things, then you can get involved in an international project. Now, one of the things that will help you with that is to plan on making sure that you're at our bi-district convention, which is always held in October. That gives you the opportunity to talk to some of the other districts, especially from Mexico, and see if there's special things that they're doing that your club could be a part of. Also, working through Sunny and through our district leadership, you can get a hold through Rotary International and see what kind of clubs those are going to be. Of course, I guess with Sunny, I'm going to be the guy that you're going to contact for that. So I will be getting additional information from RI so that I can share that with those of you that want to be involved with and be a part of international grants. We had last year at district, I believe it is, and correct me, Jeff and Sonny, if I'm wrong, at district, we had an individual from the Santa Fe, one of the Santa Fe clubs, share an international project that they did, and it was pretty inspirational. It was really neat to hear the things that they went through and the things that they accomplished. So right here in our own district, you can be connected with individuals that are already doing international projects and be a part of that. Again, go through your page, let's see, page 65. It gives you discussion questions, things to ask your chair, things that you can do. And then on 66, it gives you ideas. Polio Plus, community service, it just gives you some options that you can look through and see kind of what direction you want to do. Again, if I can encourage you, get that committee chair, make sure they're involved so that they're coming back and reporting to you the work that you're doing. That's when you're going to be the most effective from my perspective, is when your committee chairs are accomplishing the goals and you're just sitting back and supporting them in every position they can, just like we do. We support you at the district level. Jeff?
And just so you know, everyone, I'm going to be promoting service projects among clubs. I'd like to see clubs working together wherever possible so we get to know even more Rotarians and have even more fun and have a bigger impact.
Jeff, if you don't mind, would you kick back to page 67?
Sure.
I want to encourage all of the club presidents to really get very, very intimately aware of and knowledgeable of this risk management for youth programs. That's become a very, very important part of Rotary and certainly a part of our district. As the current New Generations chair, that's something that we have been pushing quite a bit, and it's something for your protection, for your youth's protection, for your club's protection. And so as you incorporate Interact, make sure that you're familiar with this and understand this. I know that Dick Jones will be going over it in further detail, but just have a clear understanding of this as you're looking at your membership foundation and your branding. This really weighs heavy on all three of those components. And so just get to know this intimately, if you would, please. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. And just two final points before we move on to the Be a Vibrant Club section. Once again, if you have this electronic, there are a number of hyperlinks in the document that will bring up other documents that would be helpful for you or for members of your board. So the electronic version is very helpful. Again, also, most of the committees that you're going to be establishing, Rotary International has similar manuals for them. So if you go into Rotary.org and you search for them, you will find them. We will also send you links to those documents so you can forward them to your committee chairs. Just like you're being prepared now to be incoming, to become president, they are going to be preparing now to serve in their roles. So please be aware of those documents. They are very helpful, just like this one is. Sunny, anything before we move on?
Just quickly, we will be instituting background checks for club members who aren't necessarily connected to Youth Exchange or RILA. Anyone who is working with youth and is in a position where they may be alone with a youth who is in a Rotary program, the district will be running background checks on everyone, and it will be at the expense of the district. So you'll hear more about that later. Just be aware.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to shift to another, I think, outstanding RI document that I think takes a lot of what was in that President's Manual and brings it down to the critical few nuggets, and it's called Be a Vibrant Club. Bruce, are you on?
I am on.
Okay, so we're just going to walk through this. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to interject.
Okay, and Jeff's going to help me with this. Good morning, everybody. My name is Bruce Portner. I belong to the Rotary Club of Albuquerque Del Sol, along with Jeff. And when Jeff asked me to do this, I looked up the word vibrant, and it means exhibiting energy or activity. And so a question came to mind. I have a question for our PEs, and anybody can answer. You can either raise your hand or you can just come on and unmute yourself. I think most people would say that more than ever, Rotary has been successful in what they're doing, especially with Polio Plus, and the clubs are doing a great job supporting the Rotary Foundation. So my question is, why do we need to change? Why do we need to be a vibrant club? Why can't we continue to do good in the world like we're doing it now? What do you think? I just want to, why should we be more vibrant? Anyone? There's a real good reason.
Stagnant, you die.
Stagnant and die. Okay. Can we translate that into something a little more tangible? I do agree.
I was going to say we want to attract current youth and young leaders to be part of our teams and to actually want to join Rotary and to be part of our mission. And I think that's one of the critical components for us as Rotarians, is to make our clubs and our old model transform and be appealing to the young folks of today.
Okay. I like the word attract. What Rotary is trying to do here is, well, let me state this another way. What do you think the number one challenge that Rotary has? And I'm not talking about eradicating polio. I mean, internally with, the organization itself, what's our number one challenge?
Membership.
I'm sorry, Brenda?
Membership.
Membership. Thank you very much. It's membership. A number of years ago, I was a membership chair for the District 5520. I had the opportunity to attend a Rotary International Presidential Membership seminar up in Denver, another one the following year in Phoenix. And what I learned there was that, membership is crucial to continue what we're trying to do with Rotary. For the last 20 years, we've been at 1.2 million. We haven't gotten any bigger, although certain areas have. But in North America and other places, we haven't. We're declining. And a vibrant club being a vibrant club, I believe Rotary feels very strongly that this is the answer. If we can be more vibrant, we can not only attract members, but we'll be able to keep the members that we have. Up till now, over the last 20 years, 50% of all the new members that come on board are gone within 3 years. And I'm sure that this, our efforts to be a vibrant club will help us overcome that. Okay, Jeff, let's go down and take a look at our what we've got to look at here. Go down to the next section on our example.
Bruce, can I just interject real quickly?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
You know, a couple of years ago, I was also at one of these international seminars, and the membership speaker asked what I consider to be one of the most profound questions I had heard since I've been in Rotary. And it was totally rhetorical. He just wanted us to think about it. And he said, you know, so are we a service organization with members? Or are we a member organization that does service? And again, he didn't answer the question. He kind of ended his presentation with that. And I think that's something we all need to think about. You know, why do we exist? And what is our charge? And as Bruce pointed out, we have to focus on membership. Even if that's not why we exist, we exist to serve them. They are, you know, in a leadership position, we're serving the membership as well as serving the community. So I just thought it was a very profound question, maybe something that, you know, we can think about in the middle of the night, but I thought that was very profound. Sorry, Bruce.
That's no problem there. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
And Jeff does a lot of middle of the night stuff.
Yeah.
And we can do at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
That's right. Just a completely different time zone than everybody else. Okay. So Be a Vibrant Club starts with an example, and it's the Rotary Club of Rochester. We're not going to go into any detail there, but I just want to tell you what this club did. Basically, they were suffering from declining attendance and membership engagement. And that tells me that, you know, people were coming, maybe they just wanted to come to see the program, but it was difficult to get people to sign up for service, you know, programs, projects and things like that. And so they decided to change themselves and reinvent themselves. And they did it by first having a strategic plan, which we've already addressed briefly. We'll talk a little bit about more in the very first one of our topics coming up here. But they started with a strategic plan and a new values statement. They created different formats for their meetings, one of which they called a 1905 meeting. And 1905, of course, is when Rotary started, and it was a small group. So what they were doing was meeting in small groups, maybe once a month, or they didn't say exactly how often, but and using social media, Facebook Live, I believe. What would happen is the meeting would start off online with their club president giving, you know, taking the first half hour, and then they would have follow-up discussions after that. They changed their attendance guidelines, although they said they changed it down to 50%. However, I know that Rotary changed that several years ago, from 60 to 50% on attendance. But you know, as Earl was saying earlier, we're now, or maybe it was Sonny. The attendance requirements are not nearly as strict nor monitored as closely by Rotary as they used to be. But the thing that I wanted to point out here is this club is now excelling. They're growing through the heavy use of social media, and they're very innovative in the way that they're doing their meetings and the way that they look at themselves. And they're publishing about, and they're using social media to get the word out to the world about what they're doing. And they're actually attracting back members that left years ago, saw what they were doing, and came back to the club. So this idea of having a very vibrant club is working for them. Okay, Jeff, let's go ahead and take a look at some of our individual, we're going to start our club on the path to vibrancy, and these are some of the things that we're going to talk about.
And I'm just going to get out of full screen mode so we can
take
a closer look at this.
Good.
Okay.
All right, so let's start. We'll go left to right as we go down, and these are best practices, if you will, on things to think about. Some of these we've already talked about, so we won't spend a whole lot of time on. The first one is decide what you'd like your club to be like in 3 to 5 years. Okay, so what we're talking about here is long-range planning. And when, as Jeff mentioned earlier, when you look out more than the current year, you need to involve the people they're going to be leading in that time, or that you think will be leading, next year and hopefully the year after that. Your president-elect, your president-elect, and if you're fortunate enough to have a way to identify people beyond that, it's even better. So the neat thing about this document, as Jeff mentioned earlier, is that it has direct links to some of the supporting documents that you can use. So when you're deciding, one of the things they suggest is plan an annual visioning session, and annually just review your goals and what you're trying to accomplish in your 3 to 5 year plan. And one of the things that they recommend that you use is the Rotary Club Health Check. And Jeff, if you can click on that link and let's take a look at it. So the Rotary Club Health Check is designed to identify strengths and weaknesses that may exist in your club. Interesting, it doesn't actually say here who's supposed to do this. I'm assuming it's the president-elect, but it could be a sitting president right now. And Jeff, you can go ahead and go down a little bit. Let's see what it has to offer. Here's an example. The health check has 5 areas of interest. Each one has anywhere from 11 to about 16 separate statements. That's a lot. But on this one, it might be useful to look at them, all of them. Normally, when we see a lot of things where you're supposed to look at and make decisions on, we suggest, just pick the ones that you think are most appropriate for your club. But in this one, I'd recommend you look at all of them. So what you do is you check the statements that you consider to be true. And some of them may not be good. Here we're in your club experience. The 5 areas are your club experience, service and socials, members, image, and business and operations. And for example here, it can be as simple as something, I look forward to attending club meetings. Yes or no, check, put the check mark in there. Further on down, members sit at different tables each week. Talk to different people. Is that true or not? Is that not true? Down further, most members are aware of Rotary's progress towards polio eradication. So you go through this, you put the check marks in there, and then you go back and you decide, are there any areas that we need to work on? And then you act, and then if you go down one more, Jeff, here's a example. They identify possible problem areas, for example, club meetings, and here's the prescription, okay? The prescription to hopefully make your club well. So pretty interesting device. Again, we're not going to go through all of them. There's 5 different areas, but you can then act on the suggested remedies and maybe make your club more vibrant. Okay, Jeff, let's go back up into decide on what you'd like your club to be in 3 to 5 years again. Okay, and then we have another link here, and that is to use the strategic planning guide to set long-term goals. Again, Jeff, would you click on that, please? Let's take a look at what the strategic planning guide has to say. So the guide basically is a 4-step approach. And we'll go down one more. I think we'll talk, there they are. So you got 4 phases. And for those of you who have done any long-range planning, this is nothing new. You ask yourself, okay, where are we now? Where do we want to go? How are we going to get there? But there's one other and more important thing, and that's phase 4, which we'll talk about. So phase 1 is, let's define or describe what our current status is. How are we doing? More importantly, are we doing as well as we thought we were going to be doing? Are there areas that we're not doing so well in? So let's first figure out where we are. Phase 2 is, now let's look out in the future. What's our vision? Where do we want to be? I'll give you an example from our own club, the Rotary Club of Albuquerque del Sol. 20 years ago, this is looking out a long way, but we decided we want to have a foundation. We wanted our foundation to reach $1 million, and we decided we would do it in 2020. We made it our 2020 vision, a play on words. And every year we monitored our progress on that. So, but our vision was we wanted to have a foundation with $1 million in it by the year 2020. Phase 3 is, okay, nice vision, nice goal. How are we going to get there? And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is not just deciding on the steps, it's identifying the people who will be responsible for that. Quite often we come up with a great plan, but you forget to assign the responsibilities or check up on them and see how things are doing. And that's what takes us to phase 4. Here we're going to track the progress. You know, how are we doing and how are we getting close to our goals? So every year we monitored, our club monitored very closely how in our fundraising, our progress into reaching our 2020 goal. Jeff, would you like to add anything? I know this is something you're very familiar with.
Well, and Sonny alluded to it. A lot of this is why we highly recommend that you be using Rotary Club Central, not just to enter goals, but to monitor your progress. And use that monitoring to maybe justify, if you're doing a quarterly club assembly, let the members know, here are our goals for the year, and 3 months in, here's how we're doing with our foundation giving, with our membership. So the use of Rotary Club Central isn't just a repository of information, it's to be used in a dynamic way to get a sense of how the club is doing.
Right. Okay. If we can back up and go over to the next area, which is deciding on your annual goals. We're not going to spend much time here. Let's go back up to Vibrant. Okay, then it's to the next one to the right, which is partially blocked by my, there we go. Okay, so now decide on your annual goals and enter them into Rotary Club Central. I'm not going to talk about this very much because it's already been discussed in the previous one, but so the base, you know, here it's really important that our president-elects, you guys, are enrolled. And I'd like to see a show of hands. How many of you currently are enrolled in My Rotary and are involved with Rotary Club Central?
So we're not going to see the hands real easily, Bruce.
Yeah, let's see. I was trying to see if I could see them.
And get the participant list.
I was going to look and see, but I'm being blocked by. Does everybody know how to do that? Let's see. Oh, here we go. Oh, come on. Well, I can't. I thought I would be able to go to the participants and see how many people raise their hands, but I can't do it for some reason.
We'll be going over that with Danette, will we not, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. Just curious. Okay, so again, this is something we will talk about. And if you are not already enrolled, our district secretary, Danette Wagner, will be covering this. We'll be covering Club Central in our second pre-ped session. So not to worry. Okay, let's go down to the next one there on the left. Hold club meetings that keep members engaged and informed. And the first one there, the first bullet talks about conducting a member satisfaction survey. And Jeff, I'd like to turn this one over to you because I know you've done one of these, at least one. And so if you could hit the link and so we can take a look at it, and I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, I'll just say that I'm glad that Rotary International provides tools and templates like this. For me personally, I could see taking some of the information from this survey. My only problem is, in some cases, they're really long, but it's worth taking a look at. So, and as Bruce said, you know, you never want to assume, you know, if you fill out your own survey about the health of your club, you may think one thing, but then when you ask the membership, you find out something completely different. So it's a really good idea before coming up with your goals and your plan and your strategy, that phase one that Bruce talked about, where is the club now? How are things going? Ask the members. Ask the people that your club works with. If you're working with charities or other groups in the community, ask them too. So get all that information about how the club is doing from them, plus your own data, membership growth, foundation giving, things like that. And that'll give you a really good sense of kind of the current state of your club. So this is a really nice tool. You can certainly use it, or you can pull things from it, or you can use your own. And it may not be something that the club does every year, but if you're an incoming president and you really want to get a sense of where the club is, I would highly recommend using something like this.
Right. And as Jeff pointed out, I counted up the questions. There's 47 questions. That is way too many questions. If you were to give that 47 question, I know that if we did that in our club, people would just start, okay, I'll just check every box here. They won't pay any attention to it. Rather, as Jeff suggested, select 5 or 10 questions that you feel are most important to your club, and go with that. Okay, Jeff, let's back up and let's take a look at the next part of holding your club meetings. Okay, the next link is vary your meeting format. If we could go on that, Jeff, I appreciate it.
So that's a website, and
that's a website. It's not, but it talks about flexible options and gives you some ideas on things you can do. I told you about what the Rotary Club of Rochester was doing in varying their meetings. Our club, the Del Sol Club, for as long as and I've been a member since within a couple of months of their chartering back in 1997, and we've always had what we call retro meetings. A retro meeting is breaking the club up into smaller groups and going to a member's work business and having the meeting there. A lot of fun, great to learn about what and it's a great way to also connect and for our members to show the rest of the members of the club what they do in their job. So this just gives you some flexible options and some ideas of how you can make your meetings more interesting. Okay, Jeff, let's go back up and we'll look at the next area, which is communicate openly. Communicate openly in your club. We've kind of hit on this already, especially regarding the brand center. I don't think we need, Jeff, do you want to go to the brand center? Do we need to do that?
I take a quick look.
Okay. So as was mentioned earlier, it's very important that if you use the brand in any of your club's publications, that they be the correct brand. And this is where you go to get the information and download whatever you need to, in order to use the correct one. Okay.
The only other thing I would mention with branding and logos and all that is that a lot of you do use social media, and Rotary does like using hashtags like People of Action, We Are Rotary, End Polio Now, things like that. So, but again, if you're going to use hashtags, you might as well use the ones that are getting the hits. So use the ones that Rotary recommends for Rotary International things. You may have your own hashtags for your club, but things like People of Action, We Are Rotary, those are internationally known brand markers. So please feel free to use those.
Yeah, and using the proper brands goes beyond just publications and things like that. For example, if your club has T-shirts, do they just have the Rotary wheel? If so, that's an improper brand now. It needs to have the wheel with the name Rotary, just like you see there, or it says under logos. All right. Okay,
I just
thanks,
want to
Jeff.
mention there's a lot of wonderful stuff in the brand center. You can find, they'll walk you through how to write Together We Transform or Together We Inspire over any one of your club photos. If you want to put that on your Facebook, you can see it in the middle section under ads, Together We Connect. They have stock photos. If you don't like the photos that you have for your club, they have wonderful Rotary photos showing people in action. So take a look and see what the resources are. They're fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, Jeff, let's go back to our to the next section. The next one is, let's see, we just did communicate. Where are we? Prepare my member. Okay, now we're up to prepare for future roles to smooth leadership transitions. And basically all we're saying here, there is not a link here, but it's just a reminder, to think ahead. And as a former assistant governor, one of my clubs in particular, I really had to work hard with them to think ahead and identify who their president-elect was going to be before the next year starts. So the sooner you can do that and to set up that continuity, and if you can even look beyond next year, but to the year beyond that, so much the better. One of the things they suggest is conducting on-the-job training for your incoming club officers, and at least have a job description for each officer. And I believe those job descriptions are available at Rotary. Jeff, do you know where they are, where they could go to get that? I'm
the
not
job
sure
descriptions
right
for.
Yeah, for job descriptions for club officers.
Well, I know they have. I know
yeah,
they
we're
have
looking at them right
manuals.
now. For the president-elect, and we know that they have publications for assistant governors.
Right.
We have publications for the secretaries, and also, I believe, for treasurers.
Right, but I'm not sure whether Rotary International, let's say, has a. I think they do. Maybe a secretary manual. I know they have manuals for the committee chairs.
Yeah, there is one.
Yes.
Hang on, Jeff. Renee has the answer. Go ahead, Renee.
Jeff and Bruce, yes, it's on RI website, and it's under leadership guiding principles. So there's each of those manuals and others as well there.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. Because I know there's a membership chair manual as well. Okay, excuse me. So moving over next year, adapt your club's bylaws to reflect the way the club works. Earlier, Jeff was talking about your constitution. The Constitution, the only things that, all constitutions are the same except for the club name and location. However, you have, as the president of your club, president-elect, you have the ability to modify your bylaws. And so we have a link here. So where they provide you with a template. So let's just take a quick look at the template so they can see that, Jeff.
Let's see, is it this one? No.
So if you haven't looked at your club bylaws in a while,
oh, I hear this. I'm sorry.
This might be a good thing to do.
Yeah, it's a Word document.
Yeah, it's a Word document, and it'll allow you to just fill in the blanks. And it even tells you, gives you the stuff that's in the different print there, or just information to you on what to think about when you do your bylaws. So talks about the fact that here, the articles are quoted below. If you go down a little bit, Jeff. Okay, let's look at, so on our, let's say Article 2 of your board, there's information there under that tells you, it was there, hold on, go back, okay. Yeah, under the board, it says the standard Rotary Club Constitution requires the club's bylaws to include Article 2. Officers listed above are required to be members of the club board, and your club's board may have additional members. That's good information about how to update your club's bylaws. Okay, good. We can go back, Jeff. All right, moving on. So now we're going to be developing strong relationships within your club. This is the orientation guide. Find suggestions to introducing new members to Rotary. So here we're talking about, let's take a look at the guide. basically, this is a new member orientation, and I wonder how many, a rhetorical question for the PEs. How many of your clubs have an orientation program for new members, where you sit down with them and give them information, things like the Rotary mission, Rotary's values, your club's values, your club's vision, Polio Plus, the history of your club, the history of Rotary, for example. So this is, we can go ahead and take a look, Jeff. Here's a section on developing a new member orientation program. Tells you what to cover, and this is what I was just going over. You can add other things that you think are good. Assigning a mentor. Our club has done that. It's interesting that a mentor, I think, is very, very useful to help out our new members. What I noticed when I was the president of the club and I had mentors, I asked some of our club members to be mentors, was that I felt that when I looked at the people that were leaving the club, many of them were new members. And basically what would happen is we had a very nice ceremony to bring them on board, and then we tend to forget about them. It may take a while for them to get their communications information, their email addresses and stuff like that loaded into our computer system. So I wanted to make sure that the mentors would keep our new members apprised of what with the club was going on, what was going on with the club, invite them to social gatherings, and so on and so forth. Let's see what else is on there, Jeff. Involving and connecting the members, get them involved as soon as possible. We try to, when we bring our new members in our club, to assign them a position in the club besides greeter, the official greeter, for a while as part of their orientation. We also try to find a place for them in one of our committees. And I think that's pretty much it. Is there anything else there, Jeff? Yeah, this says, how can we engage? Okay, so this developing the strong relationship, very important. Remember I mentioned earlier, we lose 50% of all the new members that come on board within 3 years. And part of that is they never really understood what Rotary was. They didn't understand what the club was. One of the most important questions that you can ask a new member as part of orienting them, even before they become members, is, what are your perceptions? What are your expectations of the club, and what are our expectations of you? So I think this is very important in terms of retaining the members that join us. Jeff, anything to add? Or Sonny?
Amen.
No, I'm good. Thank you, Bruce.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, the next one is make sure that all members are involved in activities that genuinely interest them. The only way you're going to know if what they're interested in is to ask, and you can do that through a member interest survey. That's the first bullet there. Notice that there is not a link to that. That doesn't exist. It's something you would have to create yourselves, but it's really just to ask a question, or you can do it face-to-face. You can do it when you're doing your orientation. What are they interested in? Why did they join Rotary? Most people want to give back to the community. Well, let's find out what their hot button is and see if we can get them involved. So, but we can't do that unless we know what their interests are. Okay, let's move over to coach new and continuing members in leading. Okay, there's a whole section, I think, of or publications on leadership. And here we go to leadership in action. And this is something that the clubs can adopt and use if they want to set up a training program to identify and then train future leaders. So leadership in action, this is kind of the introductory part of that. This is the guide, and it talks about engagement and then maybe attracting community professionals to join the club, who to look for, where to find them. and then getting started with their program. And then there is another link, I think, Jeff, that takes us to the guide itself.
I don't have that one open.
Oh, that's it, right? That's where we are. Okay. So, whoop.
It's trying to open it, but.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, it's it's
Yeah,
a zip file. It's a zip file.
Yeah, it's a
10
file
files
of,
in it. Wow.
right. So there are 10 areas of interest here that you can use to train members of your club who are interested in being future leaders. And the sessions can be anywhere from, I think, 40 minutes, half an hour to an hour long. They recommend you could either do the training and then get your future leaders together and do a group training in one day, or you can do them over time, maybe an hour apiece. The topics for coaching and for training your future leaders include communications, leadership styles, mentoring, time management, very important, goal setting, living our values, our values meaning our Rotary values and club values, building consensus, extremely important when you're trying to make decisions in an organization of volunteers, teamwork, our professional image, and finally innovation. So the whole idea behind this section is to build the skills of our club members and also to attract professionals to Rotary and hopefully make your club stronger. Okay. Let's see where we are, Jeff. Okay, then finally, let's see, we did coaching, then we got create practical committees for your club. And again, this is something that will vary based on the size of the club. For example, small clubs, they consider how you could combine the work of committees. It's difficult when you have, a smaller club. There's a lot of things you want to do. It's the same people that do all the work. Larger clubs have a little more leeway, a little more flexibility, and they have additional committees. When I was an assistant governor, right up until last year, one of my clubs was the Rotary Club of Albuquerque. That club has about 180. They're heading for 200 members, and they had more committees than I could count. And they assign somebody to committee as soon as they join the club. And that's how that's how they work. Again, larger clubs have an advantage there, but it's not impossible for small clubs to have committees. You just got to figure out what are your most important areas of interest and hopefully you've got enough people to run those committees.
Bruce.
So Jeff, I think that is the last of the areas of interest here that we were talking about.
Yep.
And does anybody have any questions about this?
I'd like to add just one thing, which is to remind everyone, invite everyone to be making sure that everyone in the club has an assignment, large or small, that everyone feels that they're critical and has a role in the club.
Right.
And if I can just add, this is Jeff. Earl alluded to this earlier when he was talking about Interact and Rotaract. Small clubs especially, if you don't have a lot of members, there may be other people who are not members of the club that it would make sense for them to serve on a committee, whether it's an Interact member or Rotaract member, someone in the community that may be able to help. So you're not limited to members to serve on these committees. In fact, I think it's very strategic to consider people who are not members, but who have some kind of opportunity to collaborate to serve on some of these committees as well.
Well, and Jeff, that really comes true when you're looking at special projects.
Yes.
Yes.
From everybody in the community to accomplish your project.
Yep.
And that helps in membership potentially,
Yes.
and that helps in branding.
Yes, they are all connected. Okay, we're going to thank you very much, Bruce. We're going to get out of this document. We've got about 10 minutes left. And what we're going to do now, I don't want this. Sorry, I got a weird menu. Close this. Okay, what we're going to do, if I can get out of this screen, which I don't know how I got in. Nuts. You know, we were doing so well.
You've been doing great. It's
no. Okay.
Try hitting the escape key.
Just did. Let me try something else. Okay, I apologize.
no need. Technology is a mixed blessing.
Let me get out of share.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, that helped. All right, what we're going to do for a few minutes is show you some of the key resources that we have. And so let me go ahead now and reshare, and hopefully this will work. Okay, are you all seeing the Rotary District 5520 website?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. All right. So, Danette, are you with us? Not hearing it. Okay. So, for most of you, if you don't know, we do have our own District 5520 website. It is chock full of very important information. And just like with a lot of these websites, you should have a login here at the top. And when you log in, you get access to specific information that you may need that you wouldn't necessarily get if you were just browsing and found it. So make sure that you've got your member login. If you don't, or if there's any problems with that, I would say first work with your club secretary. And if your club secretary can't help you, contact Danette Wagner, who is the district secretary, and she will make sure that your member login works. So that's the district website.
And then, she'll be with us next time to talk about using that.
Yes. It includes the upcoming events like a Rotary Leadership Institute coming up, AGLG training, Pets in the District Conference, all of that, as well as useful information and topical items.
And you can register from those links.
Yes, these are registration links. Yep. Thank you. We have the Rotary International website. And again, right now I'm signed in. And again, just like with the district website, you want to make sure that you have a login to the RI website through My Rotary, which will give you the ability to enter those club goals with Rotary Club Central. It gives you access to a number of courses that are on the RI website. So make sure that you have the ability to log in to the Rotary International website as well. And Sunny, I've got the Zone website up if you want to talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, I'll say a couple things about that. Some of you may not be aware that Rotary is divided into zones, and zones are composed of multiple districts, and we are in Zone 26. And Jeff, there is under About Us on the right side an interactive zone map, which we could glance at real quickly and see what our zone is and who we are paired with. Paired zone map, there we go. If you look at that, you'll see this little dotted line. That's Zone 26 is on the bottom. That's us and Southern California and Arizona and Hawaii. And Zone 27, our partner zone, is up above. We find on this website news about upcoming events like the International Convention and the Zone Institute, which is a training session. We'll see messages from our director. You know, every couple zones elects a director to the Board International. And here is our director, Jorita Solari, who is a wonderful resource. And she always has information for us there. We also have a director nominee who is also a woman. Her name is Vicki Pulitz, and she'll be elected in Hawaii in 2020. If you look at, go back to the homepage for a moment, Jeff. There are buttons on the right. If you scroll down just a little bit, scroll down, you'll see buttons for membership, public image, the Rotary Foundation. Those are, if you click on membership, Jeff, I'll just do one of these real quick. You'll see a bunch of resources on the right-hand side. Each of those bolded titles is a link to resources that are really helpful. And on the left, you can see who our Rotary coordinators are, who are also resources. Down below, you see those little colored videos? I invite you to see those at leisure. Each one is about 2 minutes. They are humorous examples of what not to do to have membership work in your club. For example, the first one, Breaking Bad, is where somebody's trying to join Rotary, but the door is locked and they're letting people in one by one, or they don't bother to introduce you and they don't give you any food. It's very interesting and kind of fun to share. If you go back to home for a moment, Jeff, and go down to the bottom of the page, the very bottom, here on the right, the resource guides, click on just the first one, would you, Jeff? It's membership and Rotary Foundation are the two major resource guides, and each one is a monumental collection of links to resources that cover just about any kind of issue you might have. The one for the foundation is like 17 pages long, lots of links. Some of them are information, some of them are reports, some of them are people, but you can find just about anything you need on those 2 links. And that's all I'm going to say about the Zone website right now. Check
Awesome.
it out. It's really
Thank you, Sunny. There's also an End Polio website, which is really helpful, has all the information about our polio initiatives. And then the other thing we wanted to show you is our Facebook page. Are you all seeing this?
We hope, yes.
Okay. So you can go to Rotary International. They're, again, very active in social media. Rotary 5520 is very active in social media. That's really picked up the last couple of years. So just like the website, you can get a lot of information from the social media. And again, all the hashtags and all of the the notions of social media. Rotary has done a really good job. So if you're on social media, try to like all of the Rotary pages and get the different feeds, and you'll find it's very helpful. Any questions about that? And they've gotten very involved in Instagram, which I think is great. And so they have a lot of videos and other things that they have on their Instagram page. Any questions about any of the resources? There's plenty. Okay, hearing none. We have one last thing to cover. We just have a couple minutes, and I'm going to bring back our topics page. Sunny, do you want to talk about the YouTube video?
Yes, we have a couple things to ask between now and February 22nd in terms of homework. One of them is to view the video that Jeff is about to provide a link for, called the 6 E's of Leadership. It's only about 11 minutes. I think you'll find it powerful, and it will provide a foundation for the work we'll do going forward. Please look at the video. And then secondly, we'll talk more about this next time. Think about the question, why am I a Rotarian? And why am I a club president to be? We will be starting with why. We'll be starting with our primary motivation. And my request of you is that you think of it in terms of what lights you up and what will keep you going when the going gets tough. Well, please begin thinking about that.
And I just sent everyone a link to that YouTube video through chat, but I will also include it in the follow-up email from this group that I will be sending out later today.
Great, thank you, Jeff. That's it for me, except to say, We'll see each other on February 22nd when we do pre-pets part 2, and we'll be together in person on March 26th. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Thanks so much for your time.
And last item from me, we don't do official feedback surveys from these pre-pet sessions. Obviously, if you have any feedback for Sunny or for me or for any of the trainers, let us know. But when we have our official pets training in Ruidoso, you will be asked about these pre-pet sessions as well. So your feedback is very important.
What time is the February 22nd meeting?
Same time.
Same time.
9:30 to 11:30 Saturday morning.
Thank you.
And the one Monday at 5:30?
And the one Monday at 5:30? It's at 5:30.
Is not.
That's for AGs and LGs.
Assistant governors, right?
Monday is for AGs and LGs, correct?
Yeah, we don't want to scare anyone here. It's for AGs and LGs on Monday.
Gotcha.
All right, everyone. It is 11:30. Thank you all very much. Sunny?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jeff.
Have a great rest of your day.
And Bruce. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Good job,
Bye
Jeff.
for
Good
now.
job, Sunny.
Take care, all.
Guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Bye.
Everybody.